pressuring the Biden administration to take a firmer stand to stem the tide of a record 1.7 million migrants arrested at the southern border. And while the left is calling out the inhumane treatment migrants are facing. Joining me now is political commentator Stefano Da Fre. Good to see you. Thank you so much for being with us. The abuse we're seeing at the border, it's a result perhaps of Trumpism. That's what some are saying. Maybe not. Of course, over the last 4 years, they were tough on immigrants. What do you think?
I think for sure that things like Title 42 and all those policies that were enacted during the Trump administration, the Biden administration has not gone far enough to remedy these situations. I'll give you a perfect example. If you look at the recent cases right now, 160 of these cases that have been brought forward about their treatment, there is no transparency. We know the claims, but we don't know the transparency to the outcome. So the U.S. Department of Immigration and Border Patrol has to do a much better job of handling this and being transparent with the public. As well, think of these individuals that are coming for a better life are the least represented, the least most marginally affected individuals that have very little advocacy on their behalf. So the Biden administration has to do a much better job distancing themselves away from Trump's policies.
What about these reports that we're hearing? The Border Patrol officers, they're supposed to ask if the migrants fear persecution or harm in their home country. But even that basic right wasn't followed. People weren't asked that. What do you think of those reports?
Leverne, I think this is one of the biggest problems. It's as though the police are acting as jury, executioner, and the entire deliberation of it. The Border Patrol officers are not ones to make the decision of whether someone should be granted asylum or not. That's the responsibility of the Department of Immigration and Citizenship. They should be doing their job, which is patrolling the border and handling them in the most efficient, humane way possible, not telling them that they're never going to get asylum, they're never going to be able to be granted this, and essentially steel caging them in a situation so that they feel even more vulnerable. The department has to crack down on the way that the Border Patrol officers are handling themselves. They do not have the constitutional right to make those decisions on those individuals.
And what about those reports, well, the video that we all saw, the agents on horseback in Texas, corralling
Yeah.
those black migrants from Haiti with their reins? Has anything changed since then?
I think that one of the challenges that Chris Magnus, if he ends up becoming confirmed by the Senate, is I know that the Biden administration has just recently done, an investigation, whatever that means. The point is not the investigation. The point is the transparency to find out what actions the Biden administration is going to take so that doesn't happen, especially if Chris Magnus is confirmed and confirms himself as a Washington outsider, someone who's pragmatic. He's going to have his first order of business is going to be dealing with the Del Rio situation of these black migrants because it's a big black eye on the Biden administration. And the first thing that they're going to have to figure out is how to do this in a transparent way that the public feels has actually served justice properly, and that it doesn't come across as the way it looks, which is discriminatory, racist, and very sloppy on their part.
Why do you think they're letting this happen?
I think that the Biden administration is first trying to get somebody confirmed. Biden's poll numbers have gone down since Afghanistan. He's trying to find someone that will take on the responsibility, like Chris Magnus, who's a Washington outsider, someone who has been in defense of sanctuary cities, gone on record to be in favor of Black Lives Matter, someone who they think has an ethical approach. Once he gets that job, he's going to have to clean this up. I think that many of these issues that the Biden administration have crept up on them, and they saw that moving policy is like moving a battleship. It's not like moving a race car. And the Trump administration created a very, very hostile environment to migrants and people seeking asylum. Moving that is like moving a battleship. It takes a lot of time. Policy is not sexy. It takes a lot of work, a lot of manpower, legal power, women and men on the court side and then also in the policing side to work simultaneously so that they don't overstep their bounds. And so the Biden administration has to do this because for the midterm elections in 2022, this is going to be an issue for them. And also the progressives of their party will not forget this. And all Democrats, I think, should be concerned and ashamed.
People have a short memory, though. Do you think they'll really remember? They have a short memory. Do you really think they'll remember by the time they're getting ready to vote in midterms?
Leverne, I think that if the Republicans, if I know the Republicans as the way that they are, they'll try to use anything in the book. They'll throw anything against them. You know, the border crisis was a crisis that we criticize often the Trump administration on the Democratic side. Now, as soon as Biden has come over, he's taken on those responsibilities, and he is having a hard time. But again, this is an inherited situation of, like I said earlier, moving a battleship. The policies that were in place, Title 42, for example, is questionable whether it's even constitutional. You know, you're using an example like Title 42 of a COVID example to expel migrants under the auspice of COVID, but really denying them the opportunity of due process. So to go back to your first point, I think the Republicans will use anything that they have available to combat the Democrats and make them look bad when 2022 comes around.
Well, certainly this issue is not going away anytime soon. Thank you so much for being with us here on a Friday to try and understand exactly what's happening at the border. We appreciate your time. Stefano Da Fre, political commentator. Thanks for joining us. And when BNC continues, the Department of Justice drawing the line when it comes to discriminatory practicing of redlining, how the feds are making sure the door to home ownership